One goes.
Sometimes the people you love the most are the ones who wound you the deepest. I never thought I'd be the kind of man sitting in silence, staring at a woman I once called my whole world, and wondering how much of our life together was built on lies. I met her when I was 15. She was 16, wild, loud, full of life. Back then I thought her laughter could chase away any darkness. We grew up together, shared secrets, skipped classes, dreamed about the future. She was my first kiss, my first everything. I never looked at another girl after her. But looking back now, I wish I had paid more attention to what I couldn't see, the shadows behind her smile. We got married at 22. She was my one and only, but she wasn't the same girl I'd fallen for in high school. She'd had a few boyfriends before me, 2 she said, and had done some things she wasn't proud of. I told myself it didn't matter. Everyone has a past, right? What mattered was the future we were building together. Or so I thought. It started small, a whisper here, a rumor there, friends mentioning names that made me uneasy, names of guys we both knew. One day I caught her lying about where she'd been. She confessed to kissing someone from our old school. Then another. Then heavy petting. Every time, it was only that. Every time she swore it was the last. I tried to be strong. I tried to forgive. But every confession felt like another brick added to a wall between us. A wall I never built, but somehow had to climb over again and again just to love her. A few months before I proposed, she went to a wedding without me. I was coaching that weekend. When she came back, she admitted she'd made out with someone there. Said it meant nothing. We broke up for 2 weeks, but like a fool in love, I took her back. Told myself that marriage would fix everything, that God would make us new again. Fast forward 19 years. We were Christians now, walking the path of faith, or at least trying to. I thought we had moved past all the pain. I thought time had sealed the cracks. Then one night she sat across from me at the dining table, her hands trembling, tears already spilling before she spoke. She told me about something I never saw coming, something from before we met. When she was in 8th grade, she said, a few boys on a school field trip assaulted her, forced her to do things no child should ever experience. She said she'd been carrying that secret all her life. I wanted to hold her, I wanted to comfort her, but something inside me shifted. It wasn't just pain, it was confusion, anger, sorrow, all tangled together, because along with that story came something else. She confessed that one of the guys she'd cheated on me with, the one she swore was just kissing, had actually slept with her. Once, she said, it was consensual. The second time, she claimed, he raped her while she was passed out. My stomach turned. I didn't know what to feel. Betrayal? Pity? Rage? Before I could even make sense of that, she dropped another name, another guy, another secret from our past. Kelvin, a man we both grew up with. She said it was only oral, that she had lied because she was ashamed. My world tilted. Every word she said felt like a dagger, each revelation a fresh betrayal. For years she'd let me live a lie, let me love her through the illusion of honesty. And even now she couldn't keep her story straight. Her details changed. Her timeline shifted. I began keeping notes, every date, every confession, every contradiction, my own personal record of heartbreak. Then one day, after I confronted the man who'd supposedly raped her, after I wrote him a letter and told him to stay away, he sent me a message, a picture, a photo of my wife, naked. I remember the chill that ran through me, the way my hands shook so badly I could barely hold the phone. The message said, "Get your story straight before you accuse anyone." And just like that, I felt like I'd been played again, manipulated, broken in a way I didn't even know was possible. When I showed her the photo, she collapsed, completely shattered. I believed her pain, but part of me still wondered, why did this man even have that picture? What else hadn't she told me? 14 years later, we're still in counseling. I'm still trying to forgive, still trying to find God in the chaos. People tell me I'm strong, and maybe I am, but strength doesn't mean I don't feel the ache. It just means I refuse to drown in it. But here's the part no one knows, the part that still echoes in my chest like a thunderclap. A few nights ago, after another long session of truth-telling and tears, she reached out, touched my face, and kissed me. It wasn't a kiss of love, it was a kiss of memory, a reminder of everything we'd lost, and everything she destroyed. And in that moment, something inside me snapped. I didn't hit her. I didn't scream. I just stood up, looked her dead in the eyes, and said, "You don't get to kiss me after killing everything that made me yours." Then I walked away. That night, I didn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling, feeling the weight of 2 decades pressing on my chest. I realized that forgiveness doesn't come from pretending it didn't happen. It comes from accepting that it did, and deciding whether you can still live with the person who caused it. As the sun rose, I sat up, wiped my face, and whispered a prayer I wasn't sure I meant. God, give me the strength to love her again, or the courage to finally let her go, because sometimes even love needs saving from the truth. Morning came, but peace didn't. I sat at the edge of the bed, staring at that picture again, the one that shouldn't exist. It felt like poison in my hands. My wife had sworn she didn't know how he got it, sworn she'd cut ties long before we married. But when I looked at her, trembling, eyes full of guilt, I saw something that didn't match the story. Something in her face that whispered, "There's more." I've learned that truth doesn't always arrive in full sentences. Sometimes it leaks out, one broken word at a time. And that morning, her silence said more than any confession ever could. She came into the room, wearing the same robe she'd worn the night before. Her face looked older, drained, like she'd lived 10 lives between dusk and dawn. "I told you everything," she whispered, but the way she said it didn't sound like truth. It sounded like exhaustion, like she was begging me to stop digging. And maybe I should have, but I couldn't. When someone lies to you for years, it rewires your mind, makes you crave clarity like oxygen. You can't stop searching even when it hurts. So I started searching again. Old phones, old journals, old messages, anything that might fill the blanks between her words. What I found didn't destroy me, it numbed me. There were pictures, messages, memories of her talking to people she swore she hadn't spoken to in decades. Names I recognized, dates that didn't match her stories. One message stood out, a short one from that same man who sent the picture. It read, "You know what you wanted that night." I didn't need to ask what he meant. The line burned enough without explanation. I confronted her that evening. The rain had just started outside, soft, rhythmic, like a warning. I held up the phone. "Who was he to you?" I asked quietly. She didn't answer. She just sat there, her hands folded, her eyes fixed on the floor. I waited. 30 seconds. Then a minute. The silence became unbearable. Finally, she said, "It wasn't like that. I was scared. I didn't want to lose you. I wanted to forget." Her words echoed in my head. I wanted to forget. That's when I realized what had been killing me for years wasn't just betrayal, it was confusion. I couldn't tell where the truth ended, and her guilt began. Every time she confessed, she twisted the story, adding pain to pain until I didn't know what to believe anymore. So I did what any desperate man would do. I went back to the beginning, to the places we used to live, the old town, the park we once met after school. I talked to people, her old friends, mine, even her cousin who never liked me. Everyone had a piece of the puzzle. None of them matched. Some said she'd always been wild. Others said she was shy and lonely. But one friend, an old roommate from college, told me something that froze my blood. She used to cry at night, she said. Not because of what happened to her, but because she thought you'd leave if you ever found out who she really was. That night, I drove home in silence. The wipers beat against the glass, but all I heard was my heartbeat. I thought about all the nights my wife had lain beside me, whispering prayers, asking God to heal us. And yet the truth was sitting right there between us the whole time, like a ghost we both refused to see. When I walked through the front door, she was waiting in the living room. Candles flickered on the table. She looked up at me, eyes swollen from crying. "I'm tired," she said softly. "So am I," I answered. She stood, walked toward me and held my face in her palms. "You don't know how much I hate myself," she said. "I was broken before you met me. I tried to be someone better for you, but the lies, they followed me. For a moment I saw the girl I fell in love with, scared, fragile, searching for forgiveness. But then I remembered the picture, the lies, the men, the confusion. I took her hands off my face. "Do you even know what's true anymore?" I asked. She looked lost. "I just wanted to protect us." "From what?" I asked. "From me, from God, or from your own guilt?" She didn't answer, just turned away, shoulders shaking. And for the first time in years, I didn't reach out to comfort her. I let the silence fill the room like a storm. Later that night, I sat alone in my office. The picture still sat in my email folder, staring back at me. I hovered over the delete button, but something stopped me. Proof, I thought. Not of her betrayal, but of how far we'd both fallen, trying to hold on to something already broken. That was when my phone buzzed again. Unknown number. I opened the message. "You still don't know the whole story. No name, no context, just that." My blood ran cold, because whoever sent it knew I was still searching, still desperate for answers. The next day, I showed her the message. She swore she didn't know who it was, but I saw it in her eyes, the flicker of recognition she tried to hide. That was when I knew this wasn't over. Something darker had been buried beneath her guilt. I looked at her one last time and said, "If there's one more secret, I'll find it. And when I do, I won't just forgive you, I'll forgive myself for ever believing you were mine." She broke down crying. I didn't move. I just stood there, calm, collected, the storm finally inside her instead of me. People call me strong, but strength isn't about holding on. Sometimes, it's about preparing your heart for the moment you finally let go. There's a point when silence stops being peaceful, when it becomes heavy, like the air before a storm. For me, that moment came 3 days after the last message. 3 days of quiet tension. 3 days of pretending we were okay. 3 days of watching the woman I once trusted more than life avoid my eyes at every turn. The message still haunted me. You still don't know the whole story. It wasn't just a threat. It was a challenge. Someone wanted me to dig deeper. So I did. I started by tracing the number. I had a friend, a retired officer, who owed me a favor. Within a day, he sent me the info. The number belonged to a prepaid phone registered 2 towns over. No name attached. But the strange part, the data pinged near someone I did know. Kelvin. Yes, that Kelvin. The same old friend my wife had sworn she'd only been involved with once. The same man she said she hadn't seen since college. So I called him. At first, he didn't pick up. Then late that night, my phone buzzed. His name flashed across the screen. When I answered, I didn't waste a second. "Why'd you message me?" I asked. His voice came out cold, flat. "Because you keep believing her lies." "What lies?" I demanded. There was a pause, the kind that twists your gut before the words land. "She wasn't the victim in everything she told you," he said. "She wanted what happened, and she came back for more." I clenched my jaw so hard I thought I'd crack a tooth. "Say that again," I whispered. He laughed, a dry, lifeless sound. "You heard me. You've been fighting for a woman who built her story on guilt." Before I could respond, the line went dead. I stood there, phone still in my hand, heart pounding. I didn't know what was real anymore. Every confession, every tear, it all started to blur together into one cruel mess of truth and deceit. The next morning, I confronted her. She was at the kitchen counter, stirring her coffee, her eyes hollow from sleepless nights. "Did you ever go back to Kelvin?" I asked. She froze. Her hand trembled. Then she set the mug down and whispered, "Once." The word hit me like a hammer. "Once." I repeated. "You told me it was years ago." "It was," she said. "But after you found out about the picture, after everything, I called him. I needed closure. I needed to feel like I still had control." Control. That was it. The one thing she'd been chasing all these years, control over the chaos, control over the guilt, control over me. I nodded slowly, the anger settling deep inside. Not explosive this time, just cold. "Closure," I said quietly. "You don't get closure by reopening graves." Tears filled her eyes. "I didn't sleep with him, I swear. I just needed him to tell me it wasn't my fault." But I was done listening. I'd spent years trying to untangle her truth from her shame. And somewhere along the way, I'd lost myself in the process. That night, I packed a small bag. Just clothes and my journal, the one filled with every note, every confession, every date I'd written down since the first lie. She watched me from the doorway, her lips trembling. "Where will you go?" she asked. "I don't know," I said, "but I need to remember who I am without your story holding me hostage." She reached for me, her fingers brushing my sleeve. "Please don't leave me." For a moment, I almost stayed. Habit can feel a lot like love when you've lived in pain long enough. But then I remembered that kiss, the one that broke me. And I realized forgiveness doesn't mean staying. It means walking away with peace in your heart. As I stepped outside, the night air hit my face. Cool, clean, free. For the first time in years, I didn't feel weak. I felt alive. I turned back once and saw her standing there in the doorway, crying. "I forgive you," I said, "but I can't live in your lies anymore." And with that, I walked away. Weeks passed. I moved into a small apartment near the lake. No noise, no ghosts, no reminders. I started counseling, this time alone. I prayed more than I spoke. And little by little, the noise inside my head began to fade. Sometimes healing isn't about finding the truth. Sometimes it's about accepting that you may never know it and choosing peace anyway. Now every morning I sit by the water and write in that same journal, not about her, about me, about strength, about forgiveness, about how love can survive even when the person you loved couldn't. Because the truth is, she was broken long before I ever tried to fix her, and I was strong long before she tried to break me. If you're listening to this, maybe you've been where I am, holding on to something that keeps cutting deeper every time you try to save it. If so, hear me when I say this. Let go, not because you stopped loving them, but because you finally started loving yourself. If this story touched you, if it made you think, or if you've ever fought through heartbreak and found your strength again, don't leave without subscribing. There are more stories like this, real stories of love, pain, and redemption. So hit that subscribe button, turn on the notifications, and join me for the next one. Because sometimes the truth hurts, but healing makes you stronger.